Okay, so let's just tune into this conversation we want to have today, because this week's conversation in consciousness is a little bit of a doozy and certainly a triggering topic for some, and may even be like a story or narrative you are currently telling or have been a part of in the very recent past. And I think it's a really important conversation to actually start this accelerator off with, because it's so relevant to the massive shifts we're going to be seeing over the 2022 and 2023 years in general. And I think for all of us as individuals, a lot of the things we're really looking for at this time, and let me know if I'm right on this one, you guys, but I think what a lot of us are now looking for is, how do we go forward from here? And in order to move forward, we actually have to take stock and accountability for exactly where we are. And if we can't see that, and that was very Canadian, I heard my accent that time.
You're going to start hearing it now, hey?
Right, now I'm paying attention. If we cannot see where we are in this moment, and we don't really have much recollection of, what we're actually saying, doing, or choosing as actions day to day, it's very difficult to create shift plans because we can't necessarily see what the next step is.
Totally.
So one of the things we want to bring forward into people's awareness that's going to be so pivotal this year in re-bridging connections between people in the human collective is getting rid of this whole friggin' narrative about the woke versus the non-woke folk. Lord love a duck. Oh, I can't say that I've been super impressed by the number of people that have been talking like this throughout, especially these pandemic years, whatever your beliefs on that, and why it's occurring. Now that's up to you. But this whole idea that we have this faction of people that are sleeping, that are not paying attention, that aren't telling the same stories that we are, that aren't speaking spiritually, that, don't understand about the extraterrestrials or the energy behind things, or they're ignoring that the fifth dimension is coming to swallow us all up and take us to utopia. Newsflash, not happening. We'll debunk that another day. The fact that we're like going into this other segregation, and we're actually creating a new level of hierarchy of, here's the woke people who obviously know what's up and are seeing all this energy that's happening. And here's all these non-woke folk that are clearly still sleeping, not paying attention, getting labeled as sheep, getting labeled as those people who are holding us back, holding us down.
Blamed for
the
current situation in humanity, which is a lot to put on a few people you probably don't even know that well.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, we have to actually take a step back if we're going to look at this objectively, right? Subjective is our opinions, points of views, and things we think are going on based on our relative experience as such. When we get objective, we start to go, okay, well, what's actually the truth of the matter? Right? So when we are playing in that subjective field, and when our feelings are involved, and when we are stressed, and when we're angry, or when things aren't going the way we want them to, or the external environment doesn't match our internal picture of the world we want to see, we as humans, especially in the way we've been conditioned over years, tend to go into a little bit more of a victim blame mindset, instead of going into, okay, what's the role I'm here to play? And how do I actually step into the being I want to be, so that the world around me can start to ripple that out? And yeah, go ahead. You have a thought.
I was going to say, it's like looking at problem solving in a slightly different way, because our first instinct is always to look for who to blame or to justify why we're in the situation we're in. But that doesn't actually change anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure doesn't. And what is woke anyways?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The spiritual folk, and you guys, don't get me wrong, like I channel, I meditate, I teach intuitive development, I teach a quantum energy healing modality called the decodes, where I teach people how to do these advanced maneuvers using kind of like energetic osteopathy to fix the world's craziest problems in human bodies. I do all this woo stuff.
Yeah.
But what is woke anyways? Because in my opinion, it's no different than us plugging into the light versus dark grid, evil versus good, right? It's just another dance that we're doing between two polarities to create judgments and contrasts and contradictions. And when we're choosing to be in that space, we're actually in this really interesting tug of war, this duality dance that actually strengthens the other side.
That's so frustrating.
It is frustrating. I'm going to use a really interesting example because I think everybody all over the world knows who this individual is. And before I say this, because somebody always comes down my throat or tries to, I don't plug into politics. I'm literally using this as a story. Okay, there's the disclaimer. Let's use the example of the US election a couple of years ago with Donald Trump, right? And President Biden, who are pitting against each other. And we've got these two parties, right? Now, what people don't realize is that these two parties are sitting on the exact same resonance field. Now, a resonance field, you guys could think of it like this big circle or maybe ellipses that contains all of the experiences, thoughts, opinions, or beliefs that we could carry on a particular subject. And so when people are fighting when it comes to politics or aligning with belief sets or aligning with particular people, and they are going, well, I don't even know which one is which, but go Donald Trump, I'm voting for you. And the other side is like, Trump's an idiot, I'm voting for Biden. They're actually playing the same game. Yeah. Now, in the normal rational person's head, they're going, well, this party has more things I believe in. This party seems to not align with what I believe in. But the truth of the matter is, neither party is going to be 100% what you think you would do in those situations. And that duality dance we do where we start going, well, this is right. This is the way the world is supposed to be. This is the lens we should be looking out of. When we go like that and we start going, and that is wrong, and people shouldn't behave like this, and these aren't the way we should be putting things out in the world, what we do is we actually don't bring people over to our side. We actually strengthen their position that they should stay in that duality.
Yeah. And then they do the same thing to us.
Yes.
Strengthens our position that we were right in the first place. And then what happens to the communication? It completely breaks down. There's no communicating with each other.
There's nothing. Gone. Zip. Nada. And so this is happening with this woke versus non-woke story right now, running in the metaphysical, spiritual, woo-woo arenas, where we're doing this strange duality dance, and it's no different than the political spheres. We are saying, okay, well, the people who are trying to see above this and they see more of the motives, and who knows if we're even right? None of us are going to know until hindsight is 2020. Jokes on us. None of us are going to know. And so we have to be in this state of open flexibility and going, okay, well, how do I want to show up based on what the collective experience is? Even though things are tough, where does my energy need to concentrate and where do I need to be? And instead of strengthening those duality fields, I need to look at where I actually stand. Now, if I'm over here in this woke band camp because I'm like, dudes, really? Disclosure? Come on now. Like, right? If I'm going over here and I'm like, oh, the people are going to be so scared when the alien ships get revealed, you know, and I'm playing those games, or I'm like, oh, wait till people understand when, you know, that politician takes his meat suit off and there's a reptilian under there. If I'm playing that game, the fact of the matter is, right in this moment, all the people on the other side of that band camp, they can't see what I see, you know, the proverbial eye, as the current reality or truth. So I just look like an idiot. Right? And that's how we're getting painted.
And just like the people on the other side that you're seeing as an idiot, it's the exact same thing. Like, that's what's happening. Now, everybody, as far as I can tell, has opinions that are based partially on truth and partially on something that's not truth. And we mix and mingle them together to create our own experience. And so it's really hard to say that one person is 100% right and somebody else is 100% wrong. Like, I don't know if that's even a thing that we can do. So we have to take everything that we're hearing and reading and experiencing with a grain of salt, because, right? It's like,
well, and I felt a resonance field even get hit with that thing you just said about taking everything with a grain of salt. Even what Violet and I are sharing, you should be taking with a grain of salt and really just playing with it and seeing what we're, presenting. You should be using your own discernment. Half of you here could be like, you two are idiots. Cool, right? Like, what duality field are you playing right now? So what we want to be doing is, hey, this is the current information. From my vantage point, here's how I see this experience playing out. From my vantage point, here's how I see this impacting my direct world. And I don't get to make judgments on anybody else's experience in it except for my own. Which means that any projections or judgments I have about how Violet might be handling the last 2 years, or how my neighbor down the street might be handling it, not appropriate. Recall that, bring it back into this space and go, actually, where do I need to concentrate my energy right now?
mm-hmm. Or like, what even is this judgment showing me?
That too.
Because it could be something that you're holding that it's time to let go of. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that's actually serving you right now. But just being aware of that is oftentimes enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the big thing here, you guys, is we really have to look at when we have a thought form that starts to become a belief for us, and then starts to get to the point where we become inflexible. That's when we're going to start getting into a little bit of problem areas when it comes to expanding our consciousness and starting to play with a wider arena of information, because we're going to be so stuck. And, what's a good word for this? Like stagnant in the way that we see the world, and the way that we're willing to play and move with information, that no new keys or downloads, if they are even slightly out of that sphere of what we are willing to tolerate, are going to be able to arrive to help shift us to our next step forward. And so in a way, beliefs, when they become so sticky that now we have a stake in the sand, we're like, this is what I believe, this is where I'm at this point, and like nothing can shake me. When they get so sticky like that, we're screwed for a while.
Yeah,
we're screwed for a while.
Shutting down all flow of information.
Yeah,
because you never know where it's going to come from, right? Like the inspiration, the manifesting power. We can't just be stuck in one spot and not moving, right? Like it just doesn't work like that. So unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Not at all. But does that mean you can't have beliefs about things? Does that mean you can't have an ego and you can't have an opinion? Absolutely not. We're going to do a conversation on consciousness about this a little bit down the road, about how actually soul needs ego. And we'll go deeper into that subject that day. But we need to have these differences of opinion, because what we're here to do as full multidimensional humans, like let's even just leave the starseed conversation out of it for a minute, just as multidimensional humans, is to share and translate and add to each other's data set, add to each other's knowledge, and then subsequently come into deeper levels of knowing what this experience can gift to us as we begin to circle wider and wider and wider out from our original comfort zones of what we thought we knew. And unless we're willing to start with an opinion and start with a belief set and start where we are, and then start adding to it and experiencing more from different channels, different places in our life, different workplaces, humans that we come across, we're not doing a very good job of gathering more data sets and adding to a wider lens of perception. We're staying like this and staying in those strong duality fields.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's an interesting judgment that we have about some people that way. Like, even if we're just going to take out the extreme side of it, which was basically the conversation we were just having about politics. If we just go down to like our friends and family and neighbors that we know, and we know like all of us know people in our lives who wouldn't identify as spiritual or sort of any level of that. They're just kind of like regular people who just, they have a family and a job and friends and they just go about their lives. I know a lot of people like that who are, if I really want to take my judgment out of it and look at how they're expressing their life, they're actually more aligned than a lot of the woo people that I know, because they're not creating all these barriers or like
And story
about how they have to show up and making it this whole like chore. They just follow the inspiration without having to make it mean anything. They don't call it intuition like we do. They don't, call it divine guidance or anything like that. They're just like, this felt good to me, so I just decided to do it and it all worked out, right?
Yeah, they're already aligned AF without having to speak the same language we do, or even necessarily plugging into all the different grids that people who are currently playing in
so they
the
actually
spiritual
have
arenas.
like way more space in their life because they're just following it.
Yeah.
And things are just working out for them. So I think there's value in releasing those judgments, recalling them, like you said, and starting to like observe the people around us and like, where are they actually really good at being aligned that maybe I could learn something from.
Oh, I felt that hit. I felt that hit, and this is something that's really hard for a lot of people to swallow, is that our belief systems are not necessarily the right way for everybody, and I know we can say that and it means one thing, but can you live that and know it? A really good example, like Violet was playing off of there, is I have family members that are highly, highly religious. And yet they're doing things that they really enjoy in their life, and they don't use the same language, and they're not looking up the same kind of articles, and they're not paying attention to quantum physics, and they're not paying attention to the different NASA discoveries on different nebula and star systems and planets that are being discovered. They could give two, I can't say this in public. Anyways, they don't give a banana fart. And so they are using different things to intrinsically and internally motivate them to move them ahead in their life. And so they are using a specific, that was a hard word for me today, a specific information grid that is very similar to how we are all using a specific information grid to create some kind of structure and formation to create forward momentum. And neither one of them is right. They just are, because information doesn't have an opinion. It's just information. It's what we do with it.
But that's the beautiful thing about this place, right? Like, isn't that why we came here? We didn't all come here to be the exact same. There's like unlimited possibilities. And so I like getting to a space where I can be inspired by other people's lives, even if it's not what I would choose for myself, but it gives me something to bounce that off of and be like, would I consider that? Is that something that could be kind of fun? I don't know. Right. And all of it just adds to our experience. And when we can release the judgment and just be open to seeing the expression of it, we get so much more out of it. The other side of it is, I think what it does when we are doing this like woke versus non-woke conversation is it's bringing us into a state of not only prejudging whether someone is awake or not before we maybe even know what they're into, because we don't know. But then we go into the space of like wearing a mask around people and feeling like we can't be the full expression of who we actually are. And then we don't talk about the things we're interested in because we're afraid of being rejected. So it's just like keeping the whole in the spiritual woo-woo closet thing going, as far as I can tell.
Well, and what's gotten us into all of these messes that we're currently on in the planet at this time anyways? Secrecy, working behind closed doors, filtering certain levels of information, non-disclosure of certain data sets, but only disclosure of certain things, masks being worn, smiles being put on faces that aren't true. Like, everything that we are seeing happen on this collective level, most of us are embodying in some form.
Oh, ouch.
To a personal degree. Oh, I know, but if we want to get moving with this stuff, we have to take personal radical accountability for where we're actually amplifying that exact same resonance field. And so to me, one of the things I used to hide a lot is when my family members ask me, well, like, what do you do? Let me know, you guys, if this is you too. My family members would ask me, like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, like life coaching. That's all I would answer, is like life coaching, because I thought that's all they could understand at the time.
Yeah.
Well, my father-in-law and his new girlfriend, I don't even know what they are. Lovely woman. She's super cool, into essential oil. She's like a plant whisperer. Great. I love her. It was really fun meeting her. They were over just after Christmas time. And he's like, my father-in-law asked me, he's like, what do you do? And I was like, it's like quantum energy healing medicine. So I work on all the things in people that modern medicine doesn't seem to be able to solve. And I figure it out at the core root and put people back together. And he was like, oh, that's cool. And then you use some of the essential oils, right? I'm like, I got a lot of essential oils. Like, you should see my shelf. So he was kind of able to put some of that context back together. And the words that he heard were, she heals people, deals with things that modern medicine doesn't really want to touch, and like sniffing good smelling stuff. Like, those were the three core pillars. And that was enough for him to build an identity of what he thinks I do, but
and
is
what
so
you might be interested in too.
Exactly. And now he's so much more interested in, because his health has been something for quite a few years. He's now asking me questions that previously weren't even on the table for discussion, right?
Because you had just said, I do life coaching, and he was probably like, well, I don't need that.
He's like, I don't need a life coach. I'm fine. I'm like, everybody needs a life coach. But, now that I've opened that dialogue and I've actually been willing to share that, it's a lot different in that relationship dynamic, and it feels a lot more true, right? When our friends and family ask us, like, what are you studying? What are you into? What are these classes you're taking all the time? And you're like, oh, it's some stuff for my business. Oh, I'm gonna like holistically help people. But
I used to say, oh, it's just something I'm interested in for my own personal mental health. It's not that big of a deal. That's basically all I would say. I'd be like, it's just personal development for my own mental health. And that just like shut down all the conversations.
Right.
At the time I wanted, because I didn't know how to explain it, but really.
But how is that any different than a public health official standing up at the top and saying, these things are in your best interest. This is all you need to know.
Same
resonance field, friends, same exact resonance field. Yet we don't want to see our part in this, and how we're still playing the old paradigm dynamics, and how we're keeping this field in play. And so if we could take the focus off of this whole woke versus non-woke folk, like, who cares? Shut it all down. It's irrelevant. And start looking at, where am I being inauthentic in my expression? Could you imagine what would happen if we all started being a little bit more honest and true? Like, if every single one of us this year just turned that notch up 5% from where we were last year.
Oh my God, the world would be such a different place.
Yeah, like, just tap into that 5%. If I was just willing to dial it up 5%, be a little bit more true this year than last year, what is the collective ripple effect from that? It's huge.
Yeah.
Like, my whole body is giving me goosebumps.
Going into any interaction, like, I've started really setting an intention that, like, if I'm going into an interaction with someone, especially somebody I don't know or haven't spent a lot of time with, how can I really connect with this person? How can I learn something from them that maybe I didn't know before or hadn't considered? Just like opening up that possibility, so that, they may be a completely different person from me, who has completely different interests that maybe I don't align with, but it opens up the possibility for like that one thing to come out of their mouth that allows us to connect, or vice versa, for it to come out of mine, for them to feel seen and heard, to then open up to a wider state of possibility in their interactions going forward. And that's how we like make that change.
I love that. The other thing we need to talk about, I think this is so important, it's going to be relevant for so many of you guys listening to this conversation, is that fear of judgment, right? A lot of us use that whole energy field of judgment to limit how we express ourselves, and to limit how we share about the things we are interested in. But really, these judgments that people are building, and we judge things all the time. I judge which apple I'm going to pick up at the grocery store. I judged which shirt and sweater I'm going to put on today. It was cold. I wanted my bamboo one. We judge all dang diddly day to make decisions on how we want to interact with the world around us. And it's no different than if you share something authentically, somebody is judging what you just said to figure out how they are going to interact with you. And if they know nothing about that subject, sometimes those people will go into a really beautiful, expansive space and be like, whoa, tell me more about that. I have no clue what you're talking about. Like, give me some context here. And some of them are going to be like, that's the devil's work, right? And go into their fear-based judgments or projections because that's their conditioning. But that's actually not up to us to navigate and control. But how we can support people as they're working through their judgments that they are building is that we can look at what could I say right now that a person could hear that if this was something they were interested in, they're going to latch onto it and be like, whoa, yeah, I've been looking at X, Y, and Z. Or if it's something that is out of their arena and scope and the words don't make sense to them yet, that they can go, what is that? Right? So that I have an opportunity to actually, in my words, from my experience, share something with them that they might be able to explore a little bit further. And here's the other little trick to this, you guys. A lot of people, when they go to share about spirituality, whether you know it or not, are not much different than the door knockers who come around with their religious pamphlets. Because there's sometimes this undertone intention behind how we share, where we're like, I need to make sure that as I share this, people are going to want to get into this because they need this to ascend.
There's a whole other can of worms.
Gag me. Can we just not go down that?
Let's not project our stuff on other people.
Right. And we don't need to like farm them into a religion. That's not what this is, right? No. Instead, what we just need to share is what is our true north looking like? Like, what grid of information are we using to help navigate our life forward, to help make us into a better person, to help us evolve, to help us ask bigger and better questions, to help us show up as a better citizen of humanity? And why is that the thing I chose versus what you chose? Here's another example. This one might hit a few resonance fields. My coach, who helps me with some of my business stuff and also some of my personal fitness and physical goals, she's actually a member of the LDS church, the Latter-day Saints churches. And while they have a lot of spiritual beliefs, a lot of metaphysical stuff, like it is a very kind of strict religion in how they show up and how they work with each other and how they do this. But she and I get along fabulously. And I'm over here talking to the aliens and like channeling all this stuff through. She's over here teaching her kids how to do gospel music and some really cool workout stuff. And the two of us have a lot of common ground. It's like a Venn diagram that come together. And if I had played into that judgment of like, oh, she's an LDS person, she can't help me because she won't know, I would have.
Oh man, we would have lost out so much. Like, the amount that as a company we've grown since you've been working with her is astronomical.
It's huge, right? I have a couple pastors as clients, actually, which is pretty fun. So I think one of the things I would really ask of anybody who's listening to this right now is to really look at your judgments of where you've put people in categories and pots and where you might actually be pot calling kettle black. Because at this point, if we're still dancing in that zone of comparisonitis and saying, I'm like this, so you're like that, and this is just the way the world's going to be, we're amplifying the current consciousness grid that's running on this planet, and we're causing more harm than good.
We're part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and none of us want that. I know that. I know none of you guys would be in this kind of group, as seekers, as people who are looking to be healers, as people who are looking to heal yourself and your family lines. I know that none of you want that. All of us want this COVID and pandemic and government corruption timelines to just, do that and get the F out of Dodge so we can get back to having a heck of a lot more fun. Although, have you actually looked at history? When were we actually having fun? Just saying,
I
we're
think
definitely.
I think it's the little moments in between the crazy. And I think that's why it's so exciting here. So
Yeah.
some of that is just a perspective shift, I think.
Right. So
I'm having a lot more fun now than I ever did before
because
because of my perspective, I think. Because
I think that,
I've opened my mind even more. And the funny thing is I used to like harp on how open-minded I was for my whole life
yeah,
until I actually started doing my own healing work and realizing how close-minded I actually was.
the irony, right?
Ah, it's terrible.
You know, we are like the biggest hypocrites sometimes,
Yeah.
especially those of us in the woo-woo healer world, because we get so entrenched in the belief systems that are in front of us. And, you know, we'll talk a lot about this over the Starseed Accelerator. And I know it's going to be triggering AF to so many of you guys. But a lot of the different things we've plugged into in the spiritual communities are just grids. And we can get so locked into them that we forget that grids aren't meant to be like solitary drivers of our evolution. They're meant to be downloaded like an encyclopedia of data for us to be able to roll with and then roll forward. So
they're just information and resources, not a manual for how to live your life.
yeah, right. It's like the Reiki master who thinks they've arrived.
Anytime you think you've arrived, you've not arrived. You've missed the point.
What's that stupid TikTok song that's like, I understood the assignment. What's that? We should make like an opposition to that one. Like, I don't know.
Not understand the assignment if you think you've arrived.
Yeah, as soon as we think we've done that, we shut off the possibility of so many more connections, communication, different beings, different people we could still come across, different levels of education that could come into our field. Oh, there's so much out there. And as soon as we think we're done, right?
Literally.
Just
But
literally.
not in a good way.
Yeah. So, anyways, here's the major takeaways from this conversation today. And I would really, really love for you guys to drop your takeaways from what you heard from this chat in the comments for us. Let us know. But what I would love for you guys to go home with is, where are you still putting people into the us and them categories? And if you could go even deeper from that, why are you doing that? Right? Like, where is that coming from? Is it actually a fear of getting to know them deeper and you being movable? Right? Is it that you perceive that the way you are doing things is the right way to do things? Because that's possible. A lot of us have grown up in very strict systems where we believe that this one way is the right way to do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would also love for you to take a little bit of time to look at some of the beliefs you've been holding about ascension, awakening, spirituality, and just go, are these beliefs actually serving me and helping me evolve? Or have they held me locked in place for way too long? Because I know way more people that are plugged into spiritual grids that are stagnant AF, not healing, not getting better. Their bodies are still sick, they're still tired, and they're still broke, than I do people that have kind of gone, I'm just going to figure this out, and they're not using this. Like, sometimes we use this realm as a crutch and nobody's talking about this, right? I'm probably going to get tomatoes thrown at me for this, but nobody's talking about it. There is a dark side to plugging in so hard to all of this spirituality stuff that we actually lose sight of what it's here to do for us, and we don't use it appropriately. And we're really going to dive deep into all of that over the course of the next couple of months with y'all. And I mean, if you stick around, we're going to have some really fun conversations and show you how to kind of light up your life, because in my opinion, 2022 is such a beautiful invitation for us right now. Number one, we're all being invited to dial up the authenticity meter, even if it's just at 5%, but I'm going to double dare you to go up to like 50, right? Let's let 50% more of your little freak flag fly out of that closet. Away we go. But we're also being invited into deeper connections, not only with self, with everybody.
That connection comes from authentic expression, though.
100%.
Yeah. You can't connect with someone without being somewhat vulnerable. And that's a word to like look up if you're looking at it. Brene Brown does a lot on that. But
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
ability and authenticity piece.
Exactly.
You'd be surprised at how many people have the same things going on in their life that you wouldn't have thought, because you opened up your mouth and said something about it and allowed them the opportunity to connect with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that being more authentic, deeper connections with self and others, but also radical accountability for the part we are choosing to play in the harmonic of the entire collective. Those are some of the big themes we're going to see throughout 2022. And the astrology is going to back me up. The numerology is going to back me up on this. Like, I'm willing to put some money on this. Mark my word. You guys are going to see so many amazing moments where you're going to be called into that radical accountability to go, who am I and how do I show up now? And then who am I and how do I show up next? Over and over and over again this year, because 2022 is really this year about becoming and really starting to own the different inspiration and things that are coming your way. And it has to start really with dropping all of that segregation, all of the separation, and starting to look at why we're all here to play in this melting pot and have a collective experience together. Has to, because until those walls come down, you're denying the very bridges that give you the levels of consciousness and awareness that you've been asking for. So I would love for you guys to look at those. If you guys want to drop your takeaways in the chat, that would be amazing. Violet and I will for sure look at them. And if you guys have specific subjects that you're like, damn, I want to hear those girls talk about this, I would love for you guys to, put it up as a post in the group, or you can drop it in the comments. We'll check back later and see if there's other conversations in consciousness that you guys would love for us to have. Nothing is off the table. We will talk about any contentious subject. I love looking at what the wider perspectives and, cascade effects from all of those things are. And we're really here to help support you guys, give you bigger questions to ask, get you to start looking at things in a different way, and really help you guys kind of accelerate along that path, however that needs to look for you. So thank you for spending the last 30 minutes with us. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will likely see you a little bit later this week. We have something kind of fun up our sleeves. Adios, amigas. See you next time.